In all, United had 28 shots on goal to show for their 2 goals against a top 4 rival, let's not forget. And you touched upon it, Michael. Was that arguably their best performance of the season?
Yeah, I thought it was, and Owen touched upon the reason that it was only 2, and that was the goalkeeper, Lloris. He made a string of very good saves. I thought they were dominant throughout. All those shots that you just mentioned, Manish, I mean, that's good going against any team, certainly one of Tottenham standing. So I think, you know, Erik ten Hag will be very pleased with the progress that they're making. You know, the one blot on their copybook obviously was getting a good beating by Manchester City, but apart from that, they're flying. They're doing really well at the moment.
Oh, and what impressed you in particular about that performance today?
Well, first of all, keeping a clean sheet. You know, any team that's got Harry Kane and Son in it, and you're keeping a clean sheet. I thought Martinez and Varane were fantastic. David De Gea barely had any work to do. Hugo Lloris on the other end, he had to make 8 saves. That's the second most of any keeper in the season. So 2-0 probably could have been, we said before, could have been anything, 4, 5 or 6. So I thought United played great, and that was probably the football that I think United fans probably would have anticipated, the Ajax football that Erik ten Hag played at Ajax. You know, that whole brand of football where they dominated games in possession and they're aggressive, they score goals. And that felt like the most Erik ten Hag performance really we could have expected from his Ajax side. And it's come to United now, and I think that bodes well. I think United fans will be absolutely delighted with that.
Yeah. The timing of the nature of that performance, I suppose, is also quite crucial, the fact that they go to Chelsea at the weekend.
Yeah, well, as I just mentioned before, I mean, they've already played Manchester City away, then they've played Arsenal, Tottenham and Liverpool, you know, in the first 10 games or so of the season. And now it's Chelsea. So, I mean, you know, once they get through that Chelsea game, you'd like to think there's a little bit of calmer waters, let's say, in the future. And but notwithstanding that, they've been picking up results anyway, and they're starting to look like a team. At long last. I think there's still lots to come from them, don't get me wrong. They don't look like the finished article, but, you know, there's a few good teams that they've played at home and they've swatted them all aside.
Yeah, let's have a look at the first goal by Fred. I mean, there was a huge deflection, it has to be said. But what it does do is, it kind of almost shows his renaissance, does it not, within this Ten Hag lineup, Owen?
Well, it does. I mean, look, with Fred and Casemiro at the base, Bruno can be the creator there. I thought Casemiro was brilliant, but Fred, then he can arrive in the box later on. OK, it's a fortunate deflection, Mo, but obviously the template and the blueprint's there for them.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Lloris was saving virtually everything that came to him, but he had absolutely no chance with this. I mean, this takes a deflection and literally scrapes the paint of the post. No question at all that the goalkeeper can't do anything about that. Very unfortunate, but again, it's the pressure that Manchester United were putting on Tottenham, and, you know, no one can say that they didn't deserve that lead.
Yeah, it's no coincidence that Fred is flourishing, shall we say, with Casemiro. The two, of course, play for their national side. Does it always translate that way, from international to club level?
Not always, no, but they're both experienced players. I mean, I defy anybody that's half decent not to be able to play alongside Casemiro. He just reads the game so well. He must be a joy to play with. That experience, that know-how, that winning mentality that he's got. And Fred, you know, lots of people can ridicule him. Lots of people can say he's been indifferent, let's say, in a Manchester United shirt. But, you know, he has got a place in this squad. You know, he can, you know, show at times some good play, and obviously Ten Hag, you know, fancies him at the moment. So I think Casemiro's here to stay, whether it's McTominay or Fred, but I think he likes that formation with 2 sitting players. And then they've got so much attacking ability, and as we touched on all the shots that they had today on goal, you know, they necessarily need any more, you know, potency coming from midfield. They're creating enough already.
What do you think, Owen? Is that a regular pairing to be fielded in the future?
Well, probably. Depends on the opposition. Obviously, when you play a side... I mean, Eriksen's needed a rest. He's played virtually every game. But I think Casemiro's the one that's going to come and stay. I think he's going to play all the time. Martinez, obviously, and Varane and Casemiro in front with De Gea. That 4 together seems like a really solid block. And obviously, I think if they can keep clean sheets with the attacking players that they have... I know Ronaldo didn't start and didn't come off the bench and wasn't happy about it. But the point is, the team look really settled today, defensively, in possession and attacking wise. So that bodes well, and I think Casemiro he's going to play. That's a fact. He looks such a natural there. When you've won 5 Champions Leagues, Mo, you probably have the right to start every game, don't you?
Yeah, and it was I was going to say it was a slow start, but it wasn't his fault really. Manchester United were winning games when he first signed. So it was hard for Ten Hag to get him back in there. As soon as they got beat by Manchester City, of course, that was the right time. That was the excuse to get him in. Some might say, well, you should have played him against Manchester City. Might not have been beaten as badly as they did. But he's there. He's there to stay now. He's a top world-class player.
As for 2-0, Bruno Fernandes, heavily involved throughout the contest, always in the ear of the referee, as almost we've become accustomed to see. But talk to me about the quality of his finish.
Yeah, I just love this type of finish. When people are calm in front of goal, when they pass it into the biggest area of the goal. The ball comes from actually quite quickly, but he already knew what he was going to do. And he actually uses Eric Dyer there to just guide it round. I think he thought he might get the pass here, so he was already setting up for it. But then when it ricocheted off Dyer, it's just a side foot into the corner, and accuracy beats power every time for me.
I mean, he's a fabulous finisher. In terms of that final pass and finishing, he's exceptional. I think when he's kind of the focal point, where he's got the defensive blocker behind him with Fred and Casemiro, then he can just go create. He's got license to drift everywhere. Anthony had a good game. He looked sharp, probably his best game. I know he didn't score, but I thought he did a lot of things really well. Obviously, Marcus led the line as a number 9. They just look really solid. And I think Bruno, when he's the guy, when everything kind of runs through him, I think he enjoys that. That goal sums up his quality.
Would you class Bruno Fernandes as a midfielder? There's a reason why I ask.
An attacking one.
Well, I'm guessing he's the highest scorer.
I'll tell you why. Midfielders, because for United have scored 3 of their 15 goals this season. And they need more goals from that middle third. I mean, obviously, Fred's chipped in with a touch of fortune about it. But is that something that Ten Hag will be looking more for?
It's difficult with teams because, you look at one of the best teams over recent years in Liverpool, tell me a midfielder that scores many goals in that team. Fabinho doesn't score many. Henderson doesn't score many. Well, none of them score many for that matter. But they have got full-backs that score and create a few goals, and then they've got, their front 3 and whoever comes and replaces them. So I think it depends on the dynamic of the team and how they work it. And I think Manchester United aren't going to turn into that. Certainly if Casemiro is playing all the time and Fred's playing all the time, and I know Fred scored today, but they're not going to be prolific. So I think they are going to rely on their front players more so.
Owen? Yeah. As a midfielder yourself, what do you think?
No, it's a good point, but Mo makes the right point. The team has to be successful, and you need to get the goals from somewhere. You look at Liverpool, all that front 3, they were scoring 25, 30 each. For United now, you look at it and go, Martial, is rarely fit, doesn't really score consistently. Marcus has some great games, but the goals aren't really there that you'd like. Cristiano is obviously he's barely featured. Anthony scored a few, so you're not getting one guy that's going to get you 15 or 20 or 30 as it stands. So maybe you do need more goals from midfield if you're not going to get a guy to get you 30 or 40. So you need to get the goals from somewhere. You don't get them from the fullbacks, really, the way United play. So at some point, somebody's going to have to step up and take the lead. Obviously Tottenham, you look at Kane and Son. Yeah. They don't have many goals outside of that. I think for United, they got a lot of good players. Who's going to be the guy? Mo was the guy that got you 30, 40 a season.
I never scored that many, but I know what you mean.
You've done him a service there. But you see, the thing is, they went into this game with a goal difference of -2. You know what I'm getting at is the fact that the overall goal output isn't kind of correlating with the type of quality players they've got in that attacking third. I mean, now it's 0 after the win today.
Yeah, but Benish, they conceded, 4 off.
They've had a couple of heavy
6
results.
Off City. That's the problem. If they keep clean sheets, and and they start defending a little bit better, like they did against Mo mentioned Arsenal, Liverpool, and now today. They'll be fine. United. Okay, there's not many cities out there that they're scoring 5 and 6 a game. But I think United, if they can keep clean sheets or only concede 1, that attack will score 2 or 3 a game. I'm sure of it.
And could it easily have been a lot more? Wasn't it not for Hugo Lloris and goal?
Absolutely. I mean, he made a couple of saves that I thought, that one was for the cameras. But he also made a couple of saves that were out of this world. I think that one just hit the post, actually. But he gets a touch on that one. Yeah, you expect him to save it. This is a cracking save. Marcus Rashford hits it hard. And just a brief word on Rashford, though. I mean, in that situation, he's smacking everything way too hard. I think he can place that, and then he can place one later on as well. Here he makes a little bit of a meal of it, but he keeps it out the net. And again, one for the cameras, but there's a decent one here. This is one of his better ones, Owen.
Yeah, that one was a great save. I think there's one coming up now.
Yeah.
This is from Marcus Rashford.
Though I just think
But that's
That's
a
it.
great save, though, isn't it?
It is a good save, but
I know what you mean. You
place
just
it.
side foot into the side
Smacking the
net.
ball all the time down the middle. It's
Thing is, when you have a worldie like that, you don't deserve to lose. Do you know what I mean? So he'll be disappointed. Obviously, he's had one of his best performances probably, and they've been beaten quite comfortably.
Well, how disappointed is he? Let's hear from the man himself. Here is the Spurs goalkeeper, Hugo Lloris.
Was 2-0 about a fair sort of result tonight?
I believe the best team won. That's my only feeling for the moment. And then the scenario of the game helped Manchester United to get confidence into the second half. You know, we started the second half in a passive way. We conceded this goal, unfortunately, on the deflection, and then they use. They're fast players, you know. They were waiting a bit, and they used the space behind the defense, and that's one of their main quality, you know. So it was. I felt hard to play against Man U when we were 1-0 down, because with the space that they use in the right way, they could have scored more goals.
You've been in good form throughout this season, but what was missing creatively, do you think?
I don't know. The feeling today, we were capable to take risks from the back, to cut the pressure off, and then 1-0 down, because with the space that they use in the right way, they could have scored more goals.
You've been in good form throughout this season, but what was missing creatively, do you think?
I don't know. The feeling today, we were capable to take risks from the back, to cut the pressure off, and then in the final third of the pitch, we could not find the right pass, the right movement to create chances, and then we face an opponent that play at the best. That's also one reason. Don't know. We need to analyze as well and continue the process. It's still a long season, but we are disappointed. But also we have to be honest that today it was difficult to get more than non-point.
28 shots on goal is the most Antonio Conte has ever seen any of his sides concede in a league game over 90 minutes. And if it wasn't for that man, he kept it pretty respectable in the end, did he not?
yeah, he did. But you know, I touched on it before. I'm disappointed when I watch Tottenham teams a lot of the time. I think they've got so much more quality than to sit back and be passive and counter-attacking, and you know. And I've often seen, and even when they win, I just think that they've got more to offer. I think, you know, don't get me wrong, he's a top coach, but the top coaches in the world, you know, play expanse, they play attack, they back their players, they give them confidence, they go and score goals. I just feel that Tottenham are very sit back and
Playing within themselves.
and just almost invite teams on and hit on the counter. And I think they're too good for that personally. And I don't
that's the Conte
particularly
way,
enjoy
though, isn't it?
watching. Well, yeah, and I don't like that way.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. OK, you could have just said it like that. And talking of Antonio Conte, we'll be hearing from Spurs' coach.